Yo, what up, everybody? Welcome in. I know it's been, I think a full week since I was on live stream, but, I was out in Colorado this weekend. We did a bit of an early Thanksgiving with the family, so I had to take a bit of time away. I needed it. Honestly, I did need it. So we went out and did like 3 or 4 hikes, got to the top of some mountains and stuff. Your boy couldn't breathe. The air up there is mad thin, but overall, good to be back. I got back yesterday, I got back Monday. Yesterday, I caught up on some work with Fluence, with the school, got some YouTube videos made and working on a beginner course and a bunch of stuff like that. And then what better day than today to go live? I know the market's not looking super great today. Things aren't feeling super good, but happy to jump on with you guys and be here every step of the way. I've told you all consistently, no matter what this goddamn market does, I'll be here with you every step of the way. We're at 50K, I'm here. We're at 20K, I'm here. We're at 150K, I'm here. 200K, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I've been through this before. We'll go through it again, and I'll be here with you every step of the way. So I'm glad to see you all out there. I know a lot of people have been leaving the crypto space recently. I've seen a ton of people exiting, a ton of people quitting. I got about 40 messages over the last couple of days of people selling all of their crypto and exiting to go to other asset classes, investing into stocks or real estate or whatever it may be. So those of you who are still here, I am proud of you. I'm happy for you, and I'm glad you're here with me. Quite frankly, I just don't want to be by myself, right? So now, all in all, though, it's been a bit of a rough run. It's been a bit of a rough couple weeks. I'm not going to lie. It is not the couple weeks I expected. I did think that this market was going to move a little bit differently. I knew that we could sweep that $90,000 level. I just didn't think it was the more likely scenario, and it wasn't really the most likely scenario, but it is the scenario that we're in right now. A bit of an odd one with the liquidations, which we'll talk about in a little while here. Wasn't really expecting the market to move like this, and I'm man enough to admit that. One of the things I will always try to do here on my YouTube channel is be honest with you guys and say, listen, if I wasn't expecting some shit, I just wasn't expecting it. I'm a human. I'm a very normal person like you guys, and I make my calls. If they're wrong, cool. If they're right, cool. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, we always have strategies and systems in place to capitalize on these moves, no matter what happens. One of my favorite things about crypto is that in order for you to truly see a lot of success in crypto, you should be able to remove your bias and still stick to your strategy, right? So yeah, you can have your bullish bias. Yeah, you can have your bearish bias. But at the end of the day, your strategy should be removed from bias. And your strategy should be in place to where even if we go down or we go up, you know exactly what to do. You know the exact move to make to capitalize on that market in the long term. And so sure, I didn't particularly think that I didn't think a pullback this big was going to happen with all those liquidations above us. I truly didn't think that was going to happen. I made that very clear to you all. But at the end of the day, we were still prepared for it to happen. We're still going to capitalize on it as it is happening. And I do have a plan put in place now that it is happening. So you just need to understand that at the end of the day, whether you're bullish or whether you're bearish shouldn't matter. Whether you think that it's a bull market or a bear market, it shouldn't matter. You should be able to stick to your strategy one way or another. And that's kind of the game plan that I've always had here on the channel. And that's what I'm going to continue to share with you all. So with that in mind, today we're going to talk about what is happening in the market right now. We're going to talk about my exact plan and strategy, how I plan on capitalizing on it. I have a plan in which I believe is going to work really well. I think that even if we do enter into a macro downtrend, which is a long-term bear market, which is definitely a possibility now, it's maybe even more the likely scenario at this point, but time will tell. I still believe that I'll be able to generate really, really big profits from this market over the next 12 to 15 months, especially targeting Bitcoin. Okay. So I'm going to focus a lot of my time, attention, energy, analysis, investments on Bitcoin for now, because it is dramatically outperforming the rest of the market. And I'll show you guys kind of what my general game plan is. So that's kind of where we are with things. As a bit of a recap, a little bit more of a bit of an overview of kind of where we are. And again, I do just want to go out there and put it forward facing. I know this is something that I don't mean to say this to belittle other creators or talk down to other creators, but I wish other creators would just be honest, right? I'll just be honest about their opinions. What I don't like is for someone to have said, yeah, the market's going to go up, then it goes down, and they're like, I told you it was going to go down. No, I'll be honest, guys. I told you there was a 45% chance that Bitcoin's price pulled back to 90K. So there was a 45% chance. It was almost a coin flip. But I thought the more likely scenario was that Bitcoin was going to return back higher. I thought it was a 55% chance. So I said it was risky, but I did think the market was going to go up. And listen, the market went back down. It took the lesser route. It took the lesser probability route. It is what it is. And I'm okay to admit that. I'm okay to say, yeah, didn't particularly think that this was going to happen. But the whole game plan from now as an investor, what I need to do now is say, okay, my bias was wrong. I thought, or maybe even not particularly, because if you're talking about a realm of possibilities, then naturally it's going to go one way or another. Anyway, okay, what I thought was going to happen didn't happen. What am I going to do now? And that's the only thing you can do. So for those of you who maybe opened up long trades or opened up spot buys or who are buying at 100K, whatever it may be, for those of you who didn't particularly foresee that a pullback to 90K was coming, you have two options here. You can either think, okay, oh, I was wrong. Poor me, right? Or you think, okay, what am I going to do now? What's the next move from here, right? And that's where I'd like to get to is, okay, what's next? Boom, we're at 90K. We didn't particularly think we were going this low, but what do we do now? That's the way you have to kind of position yourself in this market, or it'll eat you alive. It'll just eat you alive. Okay. And so with that in mind, let's go ahead and let's just jump straight in. And for the first time, I'm going to show you guys my entire macro strategy for the next year or so. So this is basically my entire strategy broken down onto a chart. Okay. I am going to be releasing something tomorrow, which is called Tyler Hill's Bear Market Buying Guide. And what it is a guide that basically goes over, if we're entering into a bear market, this is exactly what I'm going to do. Now, do I know with certainty that we're going into a bear market? No, definitely not. Again, I told you on yesterday's video, and I still believe this to be the case. The bear market is determined by the golden zone. Okay. So while Bitcoin is in or above this golden zone, we structurally are not in a bear market. Technically speaking, while Bitcoin is above $75,000, we're not in a bear market. Why? Because we're not in a technical downtrend. We still at this given point, if we recover, have been setting higher highs and higher lows. So while we are setting a higher low or an equivalent low, we are not in a technical bear market, which is a consistent macro downtrend, right? But that's, 75K is very late to call it a bear market at that point, right? And so my general thinking here is like, all right, listen, we may or may not be in a bear market. Quite frankly, guys, at this point, I don't know. I don't know what this market's going to do. But what I do know is that if we enter into a bear market, I have a strategy that I am ready to execute on, because my genuine belief is that this is not a losing scenario. Okay, this is not a losing scenario. If Bitcoin's price does pull back into a bear market, I think it only lasts 8 to 12 months, 8 to 12 months or so until we bottom. And then from there, we do see some pretty good gains that are actually going to be compounded by the macro environment, which I'll explain a little bit later on. So it's like, okay, if we're going to see multiple months of this thing pulling back, going back into a downtrend, I need to capitalize on it because I don't think it lasts very long. If it doesn't happen, the same strategy will give me gains. If we see Bitcoin's price rally to an all-time high from here, we have some really good gains we can generate from that as well. So the question is whether or not we generate gains like in the next couple of weeks, or do we generate gains in about 8 to 12 months? I know ideally we don't want it to be 8 to 12 months, but it's just the game that we play here. We have to be okay with it, right? And so I want to give you guys my entire game plan. Every single thing that I am going to do over the next 6 to 12 months, and it's all here. It's all here. And hopefully you guys are excited about this, and hopefully you find this helpful. Okay. So without further ado, let's talk about what my entire game plan is going forward from here. So my current game plan is very, very simple. And it's a game plan that I've been implementing for the last couple of years. It's one that I've talked to you all about consistently for the last couple of years. It's called dynamic holding. Okay. So whenever you're a dynamic holder here in the crypto world, all you're doing basically is compounding dollar cost averages the lower that you go, increasing the purchase size of those dollar cost averages the lower that you go, while simultaneously taking profits on pumps. If I'm going to word this very simply, I'm buying the lows and selling the highs. The lower we go, the more I buy. And it's just as simple as that. And so the way in which it works is that you go in as a dynamic holder, you're going to identify key zones of support. You're going to look for the levels which are the most likely to reverse Bitcoin's price back to the top side. And these can be structural, these can be indicator based, these can be a little bit of a mixture of the two. They can be liquidation based, liquidity based, volume based, fundamentals based. You can identify these key support levels as you want. Okay, as you want. Personally, I use structural support levels to identify the levels in which we're the most likely to bounce. Now you may say, Tyler, why are you looking to identify support levels? Well, because in the scenario, let's say there's two scenarios here. Scenario one is that Bitcoin's price rallies back up to an all-time high. Scenario number two is that Bitcoin's price heads down into a bear market. These are the only two real scenarios that we have here. I guess technically it could go sideways, but it's still applicable, and that'll make sense in a second. These are the only two scenarios on the table: bull market, bear market, right? Uptrend, downtrend. And so you have to ask yourself, what is, one second, someone said move your, hold on, give me 1 second. Let me adjust that for you. There we go. Boom. Okay. So you have only two scenarios here. Scenario number one is that Bitcoin goes full bull again, somehow. It would be difficult, but somehow it just full returns back up towards the upside and smashes through an all-time high. Option number two is that Bitcoin's price, of course, trends down into a bear market. So knowing that these are our only two options, let's talk about the best thing that you could possibly do in both of those scenarios. If Bitcoin's price is about to reverse back into a bull market, what you have to understand is that it's going to do so off of a key zone of support. Okay, so Bitcoin's going to hit a macro level of support, maybe one like the golden zone. It's going to find some support on this key structural level and then use it to continue back upwards. So the reversal is very likely going to happen off of a structural macro support zone. So the best thing that we could possibly be doing right now, if Bitcoin's price is going to rally back to an all-time high, is dollar cost averaging in that macro structural zone of support. Of course, naturally, right? If it's going to be one of these zones that's going to act as a trampoline to send us back up, the best thing we can do is buy in that zone. Okay, so that's option number one. So we need to identify those zones in order to purchase in those zones. Now, the second thing that we can do is, or the second scenario here, is that Bitcoin's price enters into a bear market. Now, if Bitcoin's price enters into a bear market, the absolute best thing that we could do is somehow perfectly time the bottom of the bear market and buy at the bottom of the bear market before Bitcoin's price rallies back to the top side. And I think we can all agree here. The best thing that we could do in order to capitalize on a bear market is buy at the very bottom of the bear market, and of course then ride the profits back upwards. The problem with that, though, is that identifying the very bottom of a bear market is nearly impossible. There's really no one who can accurately identify where a bottom of a bear market is without just speculating or without just guessing. But what we do know is that based on historical performative data, Bitcoin's price will use I'm talking key zones of support, key zones of structure in order to attempt to create the bottom of the bear market. What does that mean? It means that as Bitcoin's price goes into a bear market, what it's going to do is try to identify key zones of support that it can then use to build as a foundation to end the bear market and continue upwards. For example, if we go look back at what happened historically as Bitcoin's price, for example, came back down here. Let me see if I have a more zoomed out chart. 1 second. I'd like one that shows this there. Okay. So, what happened here? For example, as Bitcoin's price started to venture into this bear market, it was trending lower and lower and lower. And what was Bitcoin trying to do right here? As it put in this bottom, what was it trying to do? It was simply trying to find the structure, find the support and the liquidity that was going to serve as the wall that then sent us into the bull market. And so, what we could have done back then, which is what we did do back in 2023 and 2022, if you were here on the channel, you remember this. I told you all, listen, the best thing that we can do while we were in the bear market, as we were falling, I said, guys, listen, the best thing to do right now is try to find the levels in which Bitcoin's price is the most likely to reverse. That is the only thing we can do. So we went back and we said, okay, previous all-time high, previous regional high, previous structural high. We had support right here, and we had a macro little liquidity zone right here. I don't know if you guys remember this. If you were here in 2022, put a 1 in chat. I'd be surprised. But I told you all, listen, as Bitcoin's price comes back down to these key levels of support, this is where we need to be looking to accumulate, because these are the levels that are the most likely to reverse Bitcoin. Because remember, we cannot time the bottom. We will not find the bottom. You will not know when the bottom is in, and everyone will not think the bottom is in when the bottom is in. So there's no point in trying to find the bottom or trying to time the bottom. The best thing that you could possibly do is find the support levels in which a bottom is the most likely. And so we went in, we identified these key levels. We had this one, and we actually had them lower. We didn't go nearly as low as I thought that we might. We hit our key reversal zones, and then we use this for continuation back to the top side. And so what this means is that the best thing that you could do, in a bear market is simply try to identify the zones in which you are the most likely in order to reverse back out of the bear market. So what you're going to come to realize is that both of those things are the same thing. Right? In a bull market, if we're in a bull market, we're going to use this to reverse back upwards. We're going to use a key zone of support. If we're in a bear market, we're going to use one of these zones of support to reverse back to the top side. So in either scenario, in either situation, the best thing to do is locate key zones of support and accumulate at those key zones of support. But what I like to do is take it up a notch and add a factor of compounding. And the way in which I compound is that I like to increase the size of my accumulation the lower that we go. So I might do a little bit of a buy right here, a bit of a bigger buy right here, a bigger buy here, a bigger buy here, and a way bigger buy right here. So yes, I am buying as we're going down. And yes, that may feel risky. But what you need to understand is that there is no risk to me because I'm 100% certain that Bitcoin's price will hit an all-time high one day. Whether it takes 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years, I do genuinely believe that we will see that all-time high again. And so knowing with 100% certainty that an all-time high is coming, what I am confident with doing is buying the lower that we go, because at some point one of these levels will reverse us. The lower that we go, the more likely that reversal becomes, and so therefore I want to take on more of a position in order to capitalize on it. I would happily buy more down here than right here, knowing that I have a bigger chance of seeing a price reversal after this support. So my game plan is very simple. Dollar cost average the structural lows, buy the lower that we go, and increase my position size the higher that we get. Now, I am personally in a bit of a more blessed position than some people because I was willing and able to buy during the last bear market. So when we were in the previous bear market, as Bitcoin's price was starting to return back to some of these lower levels here, 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 and here, I was actually there. I was available. I had enough of a revenue stream coming in from my YouTube channel, my businesses, and my trades that I was able to buy the Bitcoin dip down here. So my personal average cost on Bitcoin is $34,000 now that I've taken some profit. So it's $34,000 is my average cost, right? And so knowing that my average cost is $34,000 and knowing that I publicly was taking a lot of profit off the table back up here around 125K, as you can see from my buy sell bubble sheet, I have profit to work with. The money that I'm reinvesting back into Bitcoin, the lower that we go, is profit. I'm cycling profit around right now. I'm not starting brand new positions, but that's an advantage that I have because this is my second full cycle here in crypto. So some people aren't going to be in that position. Some people aren't going to be able to just reverse back in profit or reverse profit back into their positions. They're going to have to start new initial positions. And that is more risky, naturally. Of course it is. But from my experience, if you are willing and able to go in, and if this is a bear market, for worst case scenario, if this is a bear market, if you're willing to go in and go in hard, and take on those dollar cost averages, the lower we get, increasing that buy size. If Bitcoin's price does return to an all-time high at some point, you're going to have lowered your average cost to what could be $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. At that point, now you're in the position that I'm in which you can take profits, and then in your next bear market, rotate it back in. So you just need to be willing to plant those seeds now if we do enter into a bear market. But what I can promise you is that no one will be able to time the bottom. No one's going to know when the bottom is here, and no one will be able to perfectly open up long trades or anything of that nature at the bottom. So the best thing to do, in my opinion, is identify the zones which are the most likely to reverse Bitcoin's price back to the upside and trigger either a continuation of the bull market or the end of the bear market, and look to accumulate at those zones. And that's my game plan. So how am I doing that? Well, I'm going to go in and I've identified these zones. So the very first zone that I'm going to do this at is at the medium golden, or the golden zone right here. This is the golden zone, which was developed from this low to this high. If you don't know how the golden zone works, head back 3 or 4 videos ago. There's a video on my channel titled "This Free Crypto Tool Changed My Life," parentheses, the golden zone. I gave you a full tutorial on it. But this golden zone is the first zone where I'm doing big buys at. If we actually head back over to my server, what you can see is that I did a large Bitcoin order at $90,000 just yesterday because we finally hit this zone. So I did a pretty sizable purchase right here. Now, let's say Bitcoin's price continues in here for a little while. I will continue to do pretty sizable dollar cost averages while we're in here. Now, let's say, for example, Bitcoin's price comes back down and it falls to $75,000 to $69,000. I would then start to do another dollar cost average that's actually bigger than the one that I did right here. Why? Because this is now the previous point of support, which is going to be a very long point of strong point of support, and there's a ton of liquidity that was created from all this resistance. You see all this resistance back here? That's going to serve as liquidity. It's going to try to force Bitcoin's price back up. Now, it may not send it all the way to an all-time high, but it easily could send it back up to, say, 100K or 99K. So naturally, I would do a bit of a bigger purchase here because Bitcoin has a higher likelihood of reversing off of this level than it did off of this level. Now, let's say a little bit further, Bitcoin's price continues to pull to the downside. Well, then my next purchase comes in right around $60,000 to $59,000. Now, remember, guys, I am not by any means saying that Bitcoin is going down to these levels. I'm not saying Bitcoin's about to go to 60K. I'm not saying Bitcoin's about to go to 50K. I don't know where Bitcoin is going, but I would be naive and foolish and ignorant to not be prepared for it just in case it happens. Please understand the distinction there. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just telling you what I would do if it does, so that nothing Bitcoin does can surprise me. Okay. And so let's say Bitcoin's price comes all the way back down, reverses all the way back down to 60K. That would be the bottom of the macro golden zone from this low all the way up to this high. Now that gives us this golden zone right here. This is the 786 level of that golden zone, at which point I would be doing an even bigger dollar cost average than this one and then this one. And then last but not least, Bitcoin's price comes all the way back down to $50,000, the psychological level and the regional low. This is where I would be doing an equivalent purchase to the size of this one. Okay. So the same size purchase I did right here is the same size purchase I would do right here. And the reason being because this psychological level is only as strong as this golden zone level. It's not much stronger than this one. So it'd be an equivalent purchase right here. And let's say somehow, some way, some reason, Bitcoin's price absolutely nukes, drops straight down, okay, through 50,000 all the way to the bottom side, and it enters into the bull market golden zone from the bear market low to the all-time high. If for some reason Bitcoin's price re-enters back into $35,000 to $24,000, which would be difficult, but it is possible, I would absolutely dump as much cash as I humanly possibly can into Bitcoin's price, because I'm incredibly confident that Bitcoin would then recover and start to look for an absolutely disgusting rally that could give 400 to 500% gains on this golden zone, from this golden zone. So do I think we're going this low? No. I think institutions are going to stop us from going that low because they have reputations to protect. But if I can get a scoop here, I'm going to get a big scoop here with all the cash that I have available. Okay. And so that's my game plan when it comes to the downside. Accumulate these lows. These are my reasonings. This is what I'm doing. And if I scroll to the side, you can see that this is the big picture. Now, some people are going to say, Tyler, I can't buy these lows because I don't have any money left. The thing about it is this: what doesn't quite make sense to me, and feel free to correct me if I'm being detached from reality. If you're investing into crypto and you have money invested in the crypto, the likelihood is you are making money somehow, whether it be you have a job, whether you have a side hustle, you had made money to invest into crypto in some capacity. So there's no reasoning as to why over the next 12 months, you can't stuff aside some cash. And so $10, $15, $5 a week, something to be able to buy these dips. I don't particularly believe this idea that so many people spread would say, I can't dollar cost average the lows because I have no money left. My question is, how are you surviving? How are you living? You must have a job. You must have revenue coming in some capacity So if you can't put aside $3 a week or $1 a week or $2 a week or something in order to give you access to this dip, that just doesn't make sense to me. If you live in a first world country, now if we're talking about a second world country or a third world country, that is completely different. Okay, that is completely different. I'm not talking to you. 80% of my audience is here in the United States. There are so many side hustles, so many things that you can do in order to generate an extra $20. Go cut somebody's grass for $25 extra dollars to be able to invest into this market. So quite frankly, if you live in the United States and you're not in just some sort of extremely impoverished position, I do not believe you are incapable of making a little bit of extra cash. I'm not talking crazy money, 20, 30, 40 bucks a month or a week or whatever it may be, to be able to capitalize on a bear market, to position yourself for gains. I don't believe you. I'm sorry. It is what it is. Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. I just don't believe you. Okay. And so this is my game plan. The lower we go, the larger the purchases. These are the exact levels that I am purchasing at. Now, let's say, for example, Bitcoin's price is not in a bear market yet. Let's say Bitcoin's price is about to absolutely rally to new all-time highs. I will show you exactly. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do. So if Bitcoin's price rallies to an all-time high, I am 100% confident that that is going to be the last of the bull market. I don't believe Bitcoin's going into some sort of continued bull market into summertime of next year. I don't believe that to be the case. I am certain that if Bitcoin's price gives us a new all-time high, that pump that we're in will be the last pump of this market. I think there's many enough reason for that to be the case. So because of that, my game plan is to start to take profits even bigger than I was back here. Now, gladly, I was taking a lot of profit in these pumps. And you guys remember it, okay? This isn't, this is public knowledge. You guys can go look back at what we were doing back here. For example, when Bitcoin first broke up to this all-time high, this is when I first started publicly documenting every single buy and sell that I was doing. And you can see we were doing big sells back here. As it started to pump, we did sells here. And as we got to this all-time high, we dumped. I mean, we got a lot of profit out because Bitcoin was just showing weakness up here. So gladly, we were able to take a lot of profit off the table every single time Bitcoin hit a new all-time high. But even if Bitcoin's price does rally up, I would be selling even bigger chunks than I was back there. Now, some people are going to say, well, Tyler, you're the reason why the bull market is ending. You're the reason why Bitcoin can't pump because you're selling. Listen, me selling five-figure clips is not moving Bitcoin's multi-trillion-dollar asset, okay? That is just not the case. Get a life. Relax. That's just not true, okay? And so at the end of the day, we have to look out for ourselves. And if we are under the belief that the next pump would be the last pump, it is only reasonable to start taking profit off the table. It is only reason to pull profits in big clips. So how do I do that? Well, I do it in a reverse order. The higher we go, the more profit I take. So I've laid out a couple take profit levels in which I would be looking to take some profits at, and these are the levels in which I would be doing so. So the very first level I'd be taking profits at is right here around $100,000. Why? It's a psychological level that people are already going to be selling at, so I might as well join them. The next one is at $108,000 because that is that previous zone of resistance that's rejected us a couple times. It rejected us there. It rejected us there. We ran into resistance here. It rejected us off of this back test right here. Knowing that $108.2 thousand is a strong psychological level and a structural level, I am going to take profits there. Now, the next zone that I would be taking profits at would be right here, roughly at $115,000 to $116,000. The reason being is that this was the regional level that did force us down multiple times before we actually entered into this downtrend. The last major zone of resistance that forced you down is going to be the strongest one. So $115,000 is another take profit zone. And then last but not least, I'm going to be taking some profits off the table right up here at 125K, which is at the all-time highs. We just have to kind of see what happens after that. We have to see what happens after that, but that would be the level in which I would be doing take profits. The higher we go, the bigger the take profits become. Very similar to what we were doing last year. Do you guys see this? You see how the higher we went, the bigger these red bubbles became? That's what the purpose. Small take profits, small ones. Got a bit of a bigger one in here. Got a little bit of a bigger one in here. Bigger one, big one, big one, big one. It's because the higher you go, the more likely it becomes that you're going to revert. So take more profits, the higher you get. And so naturally, that is the game plan for me. I will do exactly that. By taking more profits off the table, the higher that Bitcoin's price goes. Now, let's say Bitcoin's price breaks all the way up past that all-time high. It would be a very, very simple equation. Let's say Bitcoin's price does this. Boom, 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 boom. just straight up to this one, okay? What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to draw in my Fibonacci's and I'm going to give myself the extension levels. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 1.618 and I'm going to take my 1.272, and these are going to be my next major targets for taking profits. Well, you have to understand, if you don't know how Fibonacci extension works, don't worry about this. Just understand it's a predictive tool that tells you where resistance will be above an all-time high, okay? And what this will tell me is that at $138,000, there's a ton of resistance, and at $156,000, there's a ton of psychological resistance as well. So my game plan after that would be to take I'm talking wildly big profits off the table at 138 and 156. Now, do I think we're about to go up to 156? It is hard for me to believe, but maybe it's my recency bias of how the market is performing right now. It's struggling for me to believe that that's about to happen, but it's a possibility. Not as likely, but it is a possibility. But I am prepared for it one way or another. Just like I wasn't telling you we were for certain about to go to $160,000 or $60,000, I'm also telling you I don't particularly think we're about to go to straight up to 156. I think I was going back up to an all-time high, 126. I think that's more rational to assume as a possibility, knowing the liquidations that are on the charts. But still, I want to be prepared for it. And I don't want to be caught off guard. I don't want to feel FOMO. I don't want to feel any of these crazy emotions. I want to be prepared to capitalize on it. And my game plan would be to take profits at these levels. Okay. And so that's the game plan. It's very, very simple. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of these because these aren't our established extension levels until we get a bottom, right? So that's the game plan. That's what I'm going to do. Now, you may say, Tyler, there's no way that Bitcoin's price goes back up to an all-time high. There's no way that we're going to see a return back up to the top side. And I do understand the sentiment, and I do even have that intrinsic thought, right? Like seeing your portfolio go down so much will make you naturally feel like it's not possible. But in those moments when I feel like, oh no, we couldn't go up, are the moments where we absolutely could. For example, you look at the liquidation map and you just recognize that every $1,000 for Bitcoin gets billions of dollars in liquidations for these market manipulators. You have to recognize that at some point they're going to pull that trigger. All these people who are shorting the market, all these people who are betting that Bitcoin's price is going to go down, they're not going to let them win, right? They're going to reverse this market. We're going to go up, maybe $8,000, $10,000 out of nowhere to smash through them. And if they keep doubling down, if we start to go back in and all those short traders are doubling down, yeah, we absolutely could short squeeze all the way back to an all-time high. But truth be told, this is the only thing that gets us there. It would take a short squeeze. And the glad thing is we have short squeeze liquidity. If we actually go look at the liquidation map for hyperliquid specifically, there's nearly 10,000 Bitcoin between here and $133,000. The same amount between us and $50,000. And I think it's easier for Bitcoin to go back to an all-time high than it is for it to go to $60,000 personally, knowing the sort of buying pressure that there would be once it goes sub 75. And so because of that, personally speaking, I do think that a short squeeze is possible. I think a macro establishment of support on these support levels and key liquidity levels, followed by a short squeeze to start pulling the liquidity out of these short trades, is incredibly possible. And that sends us back up to $110,000, $120,000, $130,000. So I absolutely believe that it can happen. It will just be very difficult for us to go much further past that, simply just because so many people will be selling and so many people will be taking profits, just like myself. So I will have these take profit plans put in place. Now, in addition to that, that's all structural. Let's start looking at indicators to support the thesis. When we go in, or reject the thesis as well. But when we go in and we look at our daily RSI, for example, the daily RSI is now at one of the lowest levels that it's been to in years. We've actually only been here a couple of times previously. Let me go actually look out on this chart. This will be a little bit easier to see. But what we can see is that the last time that the RSI was this low was right here, as Bitcoin was starting to structurally break down like this. You see how we started putting in the lower lows and we started putting in the higher lows, and then we reversed back into a bull market. We're getting into this territory right now, which means that Bitcoin absolutely could be starting to put in some sort of bottom before a reversal back to the top side, just like we did back here. We've been in this position before. We just had more time back in February because we had all of this bull year to be able to make this move, right? But the time before that we were this low was also right back here, as Bitcoin's price put in this low before reversing back up towards the top side. And this was in 2024. And so knowing that we are now at a key level in which we have historically been able to start trying to bottom out and use it to continue upwards, I do still believe that there is a possibility that we see some sort of short squeeze that pushes us back up towards some of these higher levels. You then mix in the fact that your Bollinger Bands are fully extended, not only just on a daily, but on the weekly as well. You have to consider it. We have not gotten a weekly close outside of the Bollinger Bands since, or below the Bollinger Band, since back here in July of 2024, right before we rallied. And the time before that, the last time before that, that we got a weekly close below the weekly Bollinger Bands was below, at the very bottom, the very literal bottom of the last bear market. That's how uncommon this is. And so you can't convince me that in a moment like this, where we are more overextended to the downside than we've been in years since the last bear market, that we couldn't get some sort of quick reversal and some sort of short squeeze back to the top side. It simply would be ludicrous to believe that. And so I absolutely believe that there is every world in which it is possible that Bitcoin's price tries to find some support on these key levels here and use that support to push back upwards. The question is, how far do we go? That is something I don't know. And so would I be shorting the market right now? Absolutely not. No way in hell. Would I be opening up long trades in the market right now? I wouldn't be fully against it, but I would say to start very small. I think the best play, if you're going to open up a long trade, is open up a long trade on small leverage. Of course, no big leverage at any given point anytime soon, but small leverage, small margin, and build into that position the lower we go, because I do believe that relief reversal would happen, but I would only be playing with a small percentage, 1% of your total capital. I wouldn't be allocating a 10% position, 15%, 20% position. I wouldn't be doing that. It's not safe, right? You don't want to catch a falling knife with leverage trades, because you're just going to get liquidated, or you're going to ride it all the way down on leverage losses. That sucks, right? But yeah, if you want to take a gamble with 1 or 2% of your position and open up some sort of small margin trade, betting that this market's going to reverse with a clear take profit at structural resistance, I see no issue with that, okay? And you guys got to think about it. I have been firmly against long trades. For how long? I mean, chat, guys in the chat, how long has it been? I've not told you a leverage trade was okay, and how long? Now I'm starting to think that it is more of a reasonable time to start opening up those long trades. I would just do it on low leverage, because you also need to consider that if we see this market into a bear market, you're still opening up a long trade at a bad time. It's not a bad time to DCA spot right here. It is absolutely a bad time to open up a leverage long position if we're going into a bear market, unless you have a clear stop loss set, right? And so, no, I don't think it's a bad idea. I'm not going to say it's a good idea, but I would say it's not a bad idea if that is a game that you want to play. And it is a game that even I might play just for funsies, okay? So I'll keep you updated there. So that's where we are, all in all. And I mean, that's 35 minutes of me breaking down from top to bottom exactly what I'm going to be doing for the next 6 to 12 months. Now, my content, it might start getting repetitive. It might start getting boring and redundant. I don't care. I would rather post boring, repetitive, redundant content that supports you and helps give you clear guidance through this bear market than not be here for you at all, because that is just the way the game should be played. And the best case scenario is that we buy some support, this bad boy reverses, we head back up to an all-time high, we lock in a bunch of profits, and then whatever happens after that happens. The worst case scenario is that Bitcoin enters into a bear market for the next 8 to 12 months. We pull all the way down to some of these lower levels. We get a generational buying opportunity that I believe would be followed by another 300 to 400% in gains from Bitcoin. We all get to lower our average cost back down, and then we get to create some massive gains. So the people who are in here right now with me, who stick with me for the next 12 months, we're hopefully going to lock in some gains. We're hopefully going to generate some good W's. That would be the idea. Well, guess we'll have to see how it plays out. But the people who quit and the people who leave, well, best of luck to you. I wish you all the best. But if you're one of those people who's going to be here with me for the next 8 months, the next 12 months, no matter if we do this, or no matter if we do this, I want you to put a 4 in the chat, because I just want to know who's going to be here. Who's made that decision, that dedication to themselves, that they're going to stick it out no matter what happens. I'm very curious. And I'm not saying one's right or wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong for quitting crypto. Listen, crypto's hard. Go watch my video from this morning. Crypto's hard, but so is everything in life. But what I will say is that crypto is disproportionately valuable to the world of traditional finance, all of it, right? Traditional finance, untraditional finance, all of these. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that tangent, but I do believe that means that it will have disproportionate gains. And the fact that I'm seeing this is good. It's good. This is what I like to see. We're here. We're not leaving. You remember that scene from Wall Street? I'm not fucking leaving. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Very good. Very good. We're here. We're here, and this is what we're doing. So this is my game plan. This is what I'm doing. This is everything. This is everything for me. Okay. And I do hope this is valuable to you all. I'm going to actually give this a screenshot. Put a 2 in the chat if you do think that this was helpful and valuable, and if you could use this in some sort of way to help guide you through a bear market, if that is what's happening. Okay. Put a 2 in the chat. I'd really appreciate that. So now, how does this apply? How does this apply to altcoins? Very simply. Very, very, very simply. The way in which this applies to altcoins is that I will only buy altcoins when I buy Bitcoin. So in these moments where I accumulate Bitcoin, I'll consider buying altcoins, but I will not, for the foreseeable future, individually purchase altcoins. Why? Because Bitcoin is in control of the market. Even in periods when Bitcoin dominance is dropping and altcoins are technically outperforming Bitcoin, listen to me clearly. If Bitcoin's price goes parabolic, altcoin prices will do better. If Bitcoin's price goes catastrophic, altcoin prices will fall. The extreme moves that Bitcoin makes will cause the altcoins to move in whatever direction in which they may. And so, knowing that, it is only a good idea, in my opinion, to base my decisions off of what Bitcoin does. And so, Bitcoin's now in the golden zone. We're now in a key zone of support. So now I'll consider, okay, maybe I'll go buy some altcoins. Let's see. Okay, let's go look at Ethereum. Oh, cool. Look, Ethereum's in a golden zone. Yeah, I'll buy a little bit of Ethereum here. What's Solana doing? Oh, Solana's in a golden zone. I'll buy a little Solana here. What's this manipulated piece of shit BNB doing? Oh, it's at a key zone of support. I'll buy a little bit of BNB here. What about XRP? Oh, it's cool. You know, it's at the key structural level, ranging between $1.66 and $2. Yeah, I'll buy a little bit here. You see how there's the if then? If Bitcoin is in a buying position, then I'll look at my altcoins. That's the way in which I play this game. Now, the only exception to this is microcaps. The only exception to this is microcaps and pre-sales and speculative plays. Because listen, pre-sales and microcaps, they can generate 3x, 5x, 10x gains in bear markets regardless of what Bitcoin's doing, right? A good pre-sale that actually has value, that makes money, it absolutely could give us a 300% gain like that out of nowhere, even if Bitcoin's price is falling. It's less likely, but it is possible. So I will individually look at pre-sales. I will individually look at microcaps. But remember, I only allocate 2.5 to 5% of my entire energy and capital to microcaps in times like these. So if I'm spending 100 hours looking at crypto, only 2 to 5 hours of that is spent looking at microcaps and looking at pre-sales. 95 to 97.5% of my time is allocated to Bitcoin and the top altcoins, okay? So yes, I will individually look at them. I just don't spend much time looking at them, okay? So with that in mind, as we go through this and as Bitcoin's price tries to make these moves upwards or downwards or whatever it's going to do, my game plan remains very, very simple. When Bitcoin enters into these accumulation zones, make my moves on altcoins. And if Bitcoin's price rallies to the top side, we'll go from there. We just have to see how altcoins respond to a rally. They might pump, they might not. We'll go from there. That's all up for speculation, okay? So that's everything, guys. I know I've been yapping for 40 minutes, but I really wanted to just give you guys a full-blown masterclass on exactly what a strategy looks like from someone who's been in crypto for a long time. Do you see how there's no room for bias? There's no room for I think it's going to go up or I think it's going to go down. It does not matter if I think it's going to go up or if I think it's going to go down. It does not change the result. The result is if we go down, I accumulate. If we go up, I take profit. That's all I'm going to do. So yeah, I can sit back and think, I think it's going to go up, or I hope it's going to go up, or I think it's going to go down, and I hope it's going to go down. But truth be told, there is no room for bias in your strategy, and you must remove it completely in order to become a system. A system is what generates gains in cryptos, not emotions, okay? Not emotions, not luck. There's no room for luck here in this chat, okay? And so, although I feel one way or another, it does not matter. This is everything to me, okay? And I genuinely believe that this strategy is going to produce gains for me over the next couple years. And do you notice how I don't say over the next week, over the next 1 month, over the next 3 months? I say the next couple of years. Why? Because if you are an investor, you have to understand that outsized gains oftentimes can come from outsized time. In a world of crypto, we have had bear markets that have lasted for 2 years before seeing 1,000% in gains. So I am willing to wait as long as it takes for people to recognize that crypto is not this fuck-ass asset class that people think it is. It is a valuable asset class with technology and value behind it that is not comparable by any other asset class. And when that recognition comes and the macro environment is conducive for growth and the gains start to turn back on again, however long it takes, I'll be sitting here because of the strategy with profits, hopefully with some of you as well. And that is my plan. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't care. It is what it is. I have I have a good bit of my net worth invested into crypto. So do understand this. I'm not just speaking smoke. I'm not just blowing smoke. No, I'm backing this up with hundreds of thousands of dollars in investments that could go to other things. That could go to building a house with my wife and starting a family. But instead, I'm taking an outsized bet on crypto because I genuinely believe that cryptocurrency is going to see its brighter days. There will be grass on the other side of this fence, and when the time comes, gains will be there. So the question is, are you in or are you fucking out? And I don't care which option you choose. I just want to see you put a strategy in place that benefits you. So, what do I want you to do after the stream? I want you to sit your ass down, stop scrolling on Instagram, stop scrolling on TikTok, turn off this YouTube video, and put a plan in place for if we're in a bear market or we're in a bull market. And you're going to sit there and you're going to decide, okay, what am I willing to invest? Where do I want to buy at? Where do I want to sell at? What do I want to do? Do I want to just get out of crypto completely? Do I want to, sell some of my crypto? Do I want to buy more crypto? What do you want to do? You need to figure this out because at the end of the day, all of you people who every time the bull market or the market pumps or it dumps, you don't know what to do. You're doing that shit to yourself. Truth be told, at this given point, if you've been watching me for over a year, you shouldn't need me anymore. When the market dumps, you should have a plan in place to know exactly what to do. When the market pumps, you should have a plan in place to know exactly what to do. So if you're getting all lost and confused in the sauce like the kid who got bullied in class and spun around, that was me, by the way, you're doing it to yourself. Turn off the video, sit down, put a plan in place for exactly what you will do in this market, and you'll be prepared for it. And this is mine. And this is mine. So I'm sorry I turned up on y'all for a second. My bad. I get a little passionate about this because I care. Okay. I care about you guys. But what I do not like is when you guys don't know what to do. Plan, strategy, go. No bias, no emotions, fucking execute. Okay? Okay. Now, it is 90 degrees and I'm sweating and I'm just got a little bit of a I just went to the spa. Don't make fun of me. I went to this little spa. I got a little massage. Okay, it was a gift from my wife. Be nice. I'm covered in oil. Don't you start getting fucking weird with me right now. But it makes me sweat a little bit. Anyway, so that's where we're at. That's what I'm thinking. That's how I'm feeling. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the next 15 minutes and I'm going to and I'm going to answer questions. Feel free to drop them in the chat. I have a little bit of stuff to do. Okay, I have a little bit of stuff to do. So I'm gonna have to go in a second. Ask your questions. Man, y'all never got a little massage. Be nice. Y'all never got your wife never, you never got a little massage before. They use massage oil. It ain't my damn fault. I hate you guys. Now I'm drinking out of a pink cup. Y'all just won't let me. Y'all won't let me live, will you? Pesky, I share everything. Okay, I share everything. I don't care if Jason's gonna make fun of me. Also, one quick thing while we are kind of starting to pull back a little bit, if you do want us to get a little bit more behind the scenes of your boy, I do have an Instagram page. It's called Tyler Hill Unlocked. It is linked down below. You can go see a little bit more about my life. Whenever I'm traveling, what I'm doing, all this good stuff. I post on here all the time. Professional fighter, by the way, just in case you didn't know, LOL. But outside of that, let's get into it. Are you grumpy, Tyler? I'm actually in a really good mood right now. I'm just very passionate. I get very excited about these things. At those buy zones that you noted, do you have a certain percent of dry powder you are using, like 10% now and 20%? It is very nuanced. It's kind of up for debate. There's a lot of changes that can happen. So I don't have a set percent, but usually large buys can range from like 10 to 20% at a time. I doubt it. If Bitcoin goes down to 50K, isn't it better not to take profit? If Bitcoin goes down to 50K, isn't it better not to take profit? I don't know what you mean. How hard is it for alts to drop below their October 10th? Pretty hard because so much accumulation happened there that people will battle those buy orders, but not impossible. My portfolio is down 63%. Got any tips to make it back? It depends on the amount of risk you want to take. If my portfolio was down 63% and I believed in crypto and I had cash available or an income stream, I would just be buying to lower my average cost. Let's see. I don't know too much about Dash. I appreciate that, Accenty. I try to keep it to myself, but sometimes I just get on. What about using a DCA trailing bot now? Not a problem at all. I like that. Question: yesterday, Solana had a spike down to 110 on Revolt trading platform. Why? I don't know. It's usually a platform problem that you actually can't take advantage of. Shout out, Jason. I don't know, bro. I mean, I think Ben Cohen's the only one who's called this shit accurately. What you mean? If it goes down to 50K, you bought, but the take profit is set somewhere. I'm not getting your point here. If I buy at 50,000 and it pumps to 126, I'll take a lot of profit. It depends on. I mean, I don't know. Honestly. One thing that I will say, around times like this, I do have a history of dumping a lot of altcoins that aren't performing well and rotating into Bitcoin. I do that personally. I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. I genuinely don't. It's odd. It's unlike every pullback we've seen throughout this entire bull market, which makes me feel like things could actually be changing. Don't you love when morons figure out how to use keyboards? Like, I know this guy's keyboard is covered in like slobber and slime, and he just kind of like drools on it while he types with like this. But it is impressive when morons learn how to use keyboards. I do value that a ton. I do value that a ton. I appreciate you for leaving that comment. It's very impressive. It's extremely impressive. Preface. You can almost make the argument that October drop was the winter. I mean, major alts drops. I agree. I definitely agree. I definitely agree. If I owned Bitcoin, I wouldn't be so depressed right now. All my altcoins are shit. Yeah, agreed. How new people are hurt buying high. Volatile. Next up, you love him or the cycle. I never know what the world will throw up with. Appreciate it. You did indeed. That dream. I should have listened more. ZEC. I don't really pay much attention to it right now. Yeah. They get a little bit. They get a little dicey, don't they? Bonjour. France. If you do less than 2 Bitcoin, should you be selling any or holding long term? It depends on your aspirations. If you're a long term buyer, just hold it. With all the irons XRP has in the fire, do you think it would decouple and pull away in bull run? It's not showing any signs of that now, so I'll just be guessing if I said yes or no, to be honest. It could be. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. I really don't know what this market's going to do right now. My gut just keeps saying that we're going to reverse, but how long can you call for a reversal before you just say, hey, it might not be coming? But it's like there's so many liquidations up there, like it would not be hard at all. Morons with keyboards. It's okay. We're proud of him for figuring it out. No, my walkout song is usually Homecoming, the song Homecoming. I don't really pay too much attention to all this stuff right now, to be honest. When are you starting your own token? Would be great. No, we'll never do a token. It's like most tokens are destined to fail, to be honest. Shout out to our guy Luke Coaster. Appreciate you. Looks like shout out to Coaster's Pro Wash. If the bear market has started, when do you think the next bull market will be? Approximate time frame. I think we'd start the bottom in the last 3 or 4 months of 2026. I know I don't believe it either, Jason, but sometimes it can. Sometimes it can. Thanks for all the knowledge and keeping it real. I've learned that my buys from 2 years ago were trash, but hey, you live and you learn. You live and you learn. They could have not been, the way I see it. They could have not been. So what about alt season, dude? I've pretty consistently stated that I didn't think like in 2021-esque alt season was coming. So people say never sell your Bitcoin. What do you think? It just depends on your aspirations. Like, what are you trying to get out of crypto? If you're trying to get profits out of crypto, sell that shit. If you want to just stack as much crypto for as long as possible, don't sell it. I don't think there's a right and a wrong. I'm down 8%. I don't know if I just sell alt or what. 8% is really not bad, unless you mean 80. You ever thought about being diverse with your channel? If I ever start to pay a lot of attention to stocks, I will, but I won't make content about something I don't care about, if that makes sense. What do you think about Bitcoin dominance dropping and USDT dominance approaching resistance? If we release pump, alts could fly. Yeah, good. Good. I don't know. Do you see Solana back to 160s within the next few weeks? What are we at now? Are we at like 135? I mean, yeah, if the market bounces, but I mean that's just pure speculation. It shouldn't really matter. You should have the plan in place. I believe lizards are just waiting for a juicy headline before we can liquidate all this. I would generally agree, but I guess time will tell. Well, here, Larry, you're here now. Who cares? What's up? Yeah, I figured you meant 80. I was like, 8% would be insane. Stocks are a scam above all scams. I don't agree. Did you see that this person said about no. I'm down like 1%. Shut up, Red. A reasonable expectation is we tap moving averages and continue the bear market from there if we are in a bear market. Agreed, Daniel. When can we see the hair? There is nothing to see. It's just in a bun right now. NVIDIA 186. Yeah, I was talking about way later in the future. NVIDIA's up 7%, closed markets, and Fed FOMC knows where overall bullish. We price in bad outcomes on a bear trap, even if it's dead cat bounce, but Fed confirmed QT ending December. Cool. Should I sell in a loss on potential rally as I need new all-time high to get my money? I don't understand. Do you have a written strategy us beginners can follow? Yes, it will be releasing tomorrow. You guys are going to get it for free. It's basically what I just showed you plus words. Market is pumping on a video, but it could be a fake. Yeah. No joke. No joke, though. Isn't this what happens until we go ballistic? It's just hard to tell, even with all the... I'm just waiting for the bounce to complete as well. Yeah, we'll see. Jeez. I need to eat. It's got to bounce. See you later, Frank and Studio. All love, G. Are you worried about quantum computers breaking cryptography? No, Bitcoin's blockchain's adapted to so many things over time. It'll just adapt to that somehow, some way. On the lighter side and off subject, what do you think about... Who is that? Is this a fighter? Japanese kickboxer? Is that who you're talking about? Stop spamming, please. You can sell everything now and buy at a bear market lows, but you guys won't. It's just the truth. It's easier to wait in DCA, and I completely agree. I don't know who that is. I haven't looked her up before. Okay. All right, folks. Well, look, I got to go. I got to run and jump. I have a meeting starting in 6 minutes, so I need to go get prepped for that. But all in all, I hope you guys did enjoy it. Do remember, guys, this market sucks, but if you stick through it, honestly, the gains are usually there for you, okay? So a couple things for you. If you are an experienced trader and an experienced trader only, if you know what you're doing and you're not a beginner, you can check out the link to BTCC down below. You're going to get up to $10,000 in bonuses and rewards. It's a very good bonus on a very good platform. I'm only speaking to those of you who know what you're doing. Beginners, stay away from leverage, please. Okay. The link to that is down below. Secondly, if you guys do want to see the Discord server, which is where I post all the things that I'm buying, all the things that I'm selling, same with Connor Kinney, Coach Lewis. We got a bunch of different coaches. There's workshops, live streams, seminars, and much more. You can check out the link to the school down below. One of you who uses the code NOV19, like November 19th, NOV19, you're going to get up to 20% off if you press the Start Learning button today and enter in that code at checkout. So feel free to go check that out. It's one of the best platforms on earth. Last but not least, feel free to go follow me over on Instagram if you want to see behind the scenes, as well as get access to my second YouTube channel, which is where I talk about business. I post some vlogs. You can kind of see what my life looks like behind the scenes, okay? So feel free to go check out those things down below. But the biggest thing that I want you to do, Iron Dragon, I see you made it late. Anyway, the biggest thing I want you to do, make a bear market strategy. I want you all to have that done by tonight. So when I start this live stream tomorrow, you have your strategy. It is there. It is ready. And tomorrow, I'm going to release my own strategy as a document for you guys to access. So hopefully you guys do enjoy that. I can't wait to talk to you all tomorrow. Peace out, everybody. See ya.